is one of the most significant gods in Norse mythology, associated with war, justice, and sacrifice. He is a member of the Aesir, the main family of gods, and is revered as a god of heroic virtue, lawful combat, and the moral order. Tyr is often considered the god who embodies courage, honor, and the balance between chaos and order. Although he may not be as prominent in later myths as Odin or Thor, Tyr's importance in the Norse pantheon, particularly in the early mythological traditions, cannot be overstated. Tyr is the son of the primordial god Bor, father of Odin, and the giantess Jr, the personification of earth, making him one of the older gods in the Aesir family. His role is primarily associated with war, the rules of combat, and justice, standing as the god who ensures that battles and oaths are conducted fairly. Unlike Odin, who is often associated with wisdom, magic, and strategic warfare, or Thor, the god of thunder and protector of Midgard, Tyr is more concerned with the moral and lawful aspects of war, including the enforcement of honor, treaties, and the righteous conduct of battle. Tyr's role as a god of justice makes him a figure that embodies fairness, order, and the upholding of moral principles. One of the most famous and important myths involving Tyr is his role in the binding of Fenrir, the great wolf who was fated to bring about the death of Odin during Ragnarok. Fenrir, the offspring of the trickster god Loki and the giantess Angrboda, grew increasingly powerful, and the gods feared that he would one day break free and destroy them. To prevent this, the gods decided to bind Fenrir with a special magical chain called Gleipnir, created by the dwarves from impossible ingredients like the roots of mountains and the sinews of bears. However, Fenrir was distrustful of the gods and refused to be bound unless one of them placed their hand in his mouth as a sign of good faith. All the gods hesitated, but Tyr, the god of justice, volunteered to place his hand in Fenrir's mouth. When the gods successfully bound Fenrir with Gleipnir, the wolf realized that he had been tricked and, in a fit of rage, bit off Tyr's hand. This act of sacrifice demonstrated Tyr's commitment to doing what was necessary for the greater good, even at the cost of personal loss. It is said that Tyr never regained his hand, and he became known as the one-handed god. His willingness to sacrifice his hand in the name of justice and to protect the gods from the threat of chaos marks him as one of the most noble and selfless figures in Norse mythology. Tyr's connection to war and justice is further symbolized by his associations with the spear, Gungnir, and the wolf, Fenrir. The spear, often identified as Odin's weapon, is also a symbol of warfare and the rules of battle, which Tyr embodies. In earlier Norse mythology, Tyr was the chief god of war, holding a more prominent role in leading warriors into battle than he does in later sources, where Odin assumes this leadership. Tyr is also known as the god of oaths and legal matters, and his presence was invoked when people swore vows or made solemn agreements. As the god who ensures that promises are kept and that honor is maintained, Tyr is central to the concepts of law and order within the cosmos. Tyr's mythological importance extends beyond the battlefield, as he is a god who symbolizes the essential need for fairness and integrity in all actions, particularly in matters of law, war, and oaths. This connection to justice made him a crucial figure in Norse society, where law and honor were paramount. In the Viking Age, warriors often invoked Tyr for protection and courage before going into battle, hoping for his blessing to achieve victory and act with honor. The ancient values of sacrifice, justice, and duty were embodied in Tyr, and his myths served as moral lessons for the people. As the gods prepare for Ragnarok, the prophesied end of the world, Tyr's role takes on even greater significance. During Ragnarok, it is foretold that Fenrir will break free from his bonds and join the forces of chaos in a final battle against the gods. In this battle, Fenrir will kill Odin, fulfilling the prophecy of the wolf's vengeance. Tyr, despite his earlier loss of a hand, is fated to face Fenrir once more. The two will meet in combat during Ragnarok, and it is prophesied that Tyr will die in the jaws of the great wolf, a tragic but heroic end for a god who had once sacrificed his hand to prevent the wolf's rampage. This final confrontation symbolizes the ultimate clash between order, represented by Tyr, and chaos, embodied by Fenrir. Tyr's death at the hands of Fenrir is a poignant reminder of his role as the god of sacrifice and justice, fulfilling his destiny in the struggle between these two forces. Tyr's legacy in Norse mythology is one of valor, sacrifice, and upholding justice. His mythological stories emphasize the importance of moral integrity, the courage to make personal sacrifices for the greater good, and the necessity of fairness in times of conflict. While he may not be as widely celebrated as Odin or Thor, Tyr's role as a god of war, justice, and law remains integral to the Norse pantheon. His actions, particularly in the binding of Fenrir and his willingness to sacrifice his hand, underscore the values of honor and duty that were deeply embedded in Norse society. As a god who was invoked by warriors and legal figures alike, Tyr represented the highest ideals of justice, fairness, and sacrifice. His fate during Ragnarok, where he dies in battle against Fenrir, marks the tragic yet heroic end of a god who embodied the eternal struggle to maintain order in a world threatened by chaos.